Today we're going to get working on a couple parts on the car. We've got a few things done over the last few months. We'll get to those really quick. I'll give you a quick update. We're going to be working on the hinges on the car today. Now, as you know, these cars are over 50 years old and the pins and the hinges themselves wear out from constant use, so we're going to run through getting those fixed up for you. But first, a quick update on some of the things we've done in Project Barracuda. Well, if you've been following along on social media, we got the entire engine bay sanded down and epoxy primed, ready to go for a little bit of high build primers for getting ready for the final paint job on this car. Eventually, finally, soon. Firewall's done, ready to go for the factory AC install. That's ready to go. I've got the fenders on right now and one of the doors, but we did take care of the cowl. We got a little more work to do on that, final body work there. You've probably seen we stripped down this section of the car kind of to fix some of the poor body work done in the past, and kind of want to get this all sealed up too. That and the fact that a lot of the work that was done on the car previously was done outside, and plus we drove the car in primer for many years, so we wanted to make sure we got the rockers all sanded down to bare metal and epoxy primed too. So we got this side done, but we're still working on getting this section of the car completed. And with that, I wanted to get the doors on the car and the fenders to try and make sure we get the body panels, everything lining up nice. And with that, we find that during the adjustment process, we need to get the doors set right with the hinges, and they're multi-adjustable. We're not doing too bad here. We got a little more work to do on the bottom of this door. It sticks out a little bit here, so we got to work on that. That's not an adjustment, that's actually sheet metal, kind of getting that pushed in a little bit. But we found that when I was adjusting this particular set of hinges, there was a little bit of wiggle room in there. Now, they're two of my better hinges, but I had a bunch more, and we're going to kind of go over those here in a minute. This hinge right here, you can see this one, I took that one apart, pulled the pin out, and the way these things wear, you can see this right here. See the lower part of the hinge there, that pin. See how worn that is? That's mild. Top of that pin, not bad at all. Yeah, focus, come on now. Anyway, you get the idea. But this particular hinge wasn't bad. This actually fits in there really tight. But I took this one apart because it's missing one of the star wheels. So, to give you an idea of what some hinges do look like, this is an older one off an A-body. You take a look at this. This is really huge. It's a bolt. Somebody took a bolt, cut it off, really split the top of this trying to hammer it through, and tack welded it in place. And even then, this thing is sloppy. So that one's a no-go too. This is one off of my father's 66 Barracuda, and you can see how worn this gets. I mean, this is where this all got it shiny, rubbed all the paint off down to bare metal from this opening and closing so many times. And this one is just a good candidate for a bushing replacement. So this is one of the ones we're going to do. This is one hinge that I had taken apart a few years ago. I have no idea why. I found it in a box in two pieces. We're going to start with this one. Now, here's that pin I pulled out of the other hinge. This one was sloppy. Now, I don't know if this one had a larger pin in it at some point. I'm not sure. It doesn't look like it's been drilled out. But the holes aren't oblong. They're not egg-shaped. They're round. So it may have had a bigger pin in there. I don't know. But we're going to fix this, because with the new kit comes new pins and these bushings. Now, the bushings you push in here. They flush, come flat right here like this. And then they'll eventually, when you put it back together, they'll sit right up against here. Make those two pieces nice and tight, and with the new pin, it's going to be real tight. Plus with the bronze bushings, it's going to be nice and smooth to open the doors, If you keep them lubricated, not going to be a problem whatsoever. So what we're going to end up doing first is drill these holes out to accommodate these bushings, and we're going to have to file these ends off a little bit and file the insides here down so we can get these pieces together with the bushings in place. So first things up, drill these out. All right, you want to make sure that when you drill out the hole for the bushing that you have the right size drill bit, and you don't want to go too big. Now this one, the bushing kit I have, shows it's 27/64. Now that's quite a bit larger than most of the size drill bits everybody usually has in their toolkit. So if you don't have that size drill bit, you can more than likely take this to a machine shop and ask them to drill them out, bring them the bushings, they can measure them and have them done to the right size. And they may even press them into the hinge portion for you. We actually have the right size drill bit, so we're just going to drill ours out, have it all set to go, clamp down, and just a little bit of lube, and get her done. All right, holes are drilled, and I've gone ahead and taken the files and taken all the burrs off of this, flattened this all out nicely, taking a round file, going around the inside, making sure that there's no burrs in the hole from the drilling. Now we're going to press this in two steps. And yes, I said press. We're not going to hammer it in. We don't want to beat up the top of our bushing. So I'm going to get this started with a C-clamp. We've got that started now. To finish it, I'm going to press it in with the vise. As you can see, I've already done the first one, and it protrudes quite a bit. So I'm going to take a piece of wood and back it up here. There we go. We have the other half of our hinge in the vise now, and we know that these portions here stick out a little too far now, because with the bushings pushed in, you got the shoulders that stick out bigger than the hinge does now, the other piece. So we're going to have to file these down a little bit. So we'll get those done and show you how this fits in. When you're doing this, don't just take it all off one side. Make sure you do a little off both sides. That way it sits pretty centered in the middle of the hinge. Alright, go on ahead and file down the inside bosses on this half of the hinge, and it's pretty good. I did a little at a time on both sides and stopped along the way, and I measured. I used the caliper just to check to see, make sure I got it even all the way around the hole and equal from top to bottom. So that way you didn't take too much off of one side and the hinge is kind of a little off. I don't think it would make that much of a difference because of the adjustability you have within the hinge itself on the door and the body of the car. But I have OCD, so I wanted it to be right. Now, having done all that, while I had it apart, lube these up and make sure that these spun pretty freely. That way, when you lube them later and when it's on the car, you're not going to have any problem. Now, for this half here, this is all set. I got the other pieces close, and then I went ahead and just kind of filed a little bit off the top of the bushing, not a lot, just to kind of bring it into tight tolerance. So now I'm going to kind of assemble these. I'm going to tap them together gently, and we'll put the pin in a moment. Now when you're doing this, I can't stress this enough. This is kind of like when you're flaring brake lines and you get the perfect flare and it's just great, and then you realize you forgot to put the fitting on. Yeah, you don't want to do that. So I'm going to use one of my other hinges as a guide to remind me exactly how this is supposed to go together. Because if I do it the wrong way, I'm going to be mad. You don't want to do that. So leave one of your hinges together so you have a guide to remind you how it goes together. Alright, gone ahead and got these kind of tapped together. You see the holes are about lined up there. Look at that. Not too shabby, huh? Now, one of the things you can do, I'm going to leave mine long. You can trim these off. Just use a hacksaw. Trim them right off. You can do this before you assemble it to this point where I've done. I'm going to leave mine on. I don't think it's going to hurt anything. There you go. Done. Well, having put the pin in and left these long, maybe this is the reason why you actually trim these off. Yeah, you can call me a dummy, but it's split a little bit here. You can see that. Maybe I'll do that in the next one. Not going to worry about it though. But hinge is now together. All set to go. Back on the car. Oh, there's no rattle there at all. Oh my goodness. That is just what you want out of a hinge, people. Seriously. I mean, there's no wobble at all in this hinge. All right, here's one of the top hinges, and it's pretty simple. It's a lot easier than the lower hinge. Very easy to punch these pins out. Yeah, I'll get that later, don't worry. As you can see, these already have bushings in them. So these are pretty easy to knock out. Put it back in your vise, put your punch down inside till you feel a catch on the lip. You press down here. Now I just started these in with a hammer, just get them going, because these fit pretty well. Not as tight as the bottom hinge when we had to drill it out to fit. So this is just going to go in the vise. And it's not going to take a lot of pressure to just seat them in there. All done. Goes back together pretty quick. And let's see. Now I did the other one already. This is the second one I've done. And I had to get a little bit creative with getting the pin to seat. So first things first, let's get it all the way down. See, that was fast, right? You can hammer it all the way down like that if you like. What I ended up doing was took a socket on this end, putting it in the vise, and then using a brute strength, just kind of torquing it right down in there. Okay, lined up. I'm going to go with a little bit of brute force. And be careful, make sure you have your socket nice and square, everything lined up, because you don't want this thing to kind of blow out on you. Okay, that's seated. And we're done. That's a top hinge. Alright, well, we've done both the hinges. We did a lower one, we did an upper one. The lower one is a little bit harder than it was the upper one. The upper one was pretty simple. We just knocked the pin out, knocked the bushings out, put the new bushings in, put the new pin in, call it a day. Now, 9 times out of 10 on your car, the upper hinges aren't going to be as worn as the lowers. The lowers hold more of the weight of the door and tend to be more worn out. Now, let's flip it around. I'm going to show you. I already put the set of hinges on the door. Hold on. Now, it wasn't too hard to do it. I just did them one at a time. You know, replace one hinge, then I did the other one. Now, I didn't take the time to realign the door. I just wanted to get the hinges on. I'll do this later. but they're on. Pretty good. I don't know if you're going to be able to tell or not, but there is literally no play. They have just the slightest amount of up and down, which you're going to want when you start doing the body work on your car. So if I can lift it up here, you see a little bit. Now it's amplified because of the length of the door. But if your hinges were worn out, you're getting a lot more movement out of them. I mean, that little bit right there, once I get the hinges adjusted, that's nothing. This is going to be fine for years to come. Now, that was just a pin kit that I bought. There are rebuild kits that also have that wide spring to be replaced as well. Now, you can also send your hinges out to some places online that will do a complete overhaul of your hinges. They will also take them as cores and maybe sell you a set of theirs. Now, how they do theirs, I'm not sure. It depends on the manufacturer. They could do a new spring. They could just do a bushing kit. I'm not sure. A lot of times they may just weld the holes shut, re-drill them, and then put new pins in without bushings. Now, it's either good or bad. I've seen some people say that welding and then re-drilling them creates a harder spot in the steel in that area, so the pins will wear out faster. Well, I've also seen people say that, oh, I just put bushings in, they're going to wear out even faster than the steel. You know, whatever it is that you want to do with your car, go for it. I chose to do with the bushings. It was easier for me. I wasn't worried about the little springs in the hinges. They seemed tight enough for me. And again, these cars are hobby cars. They're not $500,000, you know, B bodies or E bodies or anything like that. So don't spend a lot of money doing this stuff. It's pretty easy to do it yourself. Thanks for watching again. And if you like our videos, subscribe to our channel down below, and we'll see you next time. Thanks for watching.